Ah, the go live button. It finally appeared. Perfect. Okay. Please feedback if you can see me. If you can hear me, is the sound fine? Today we'll actually try having some music in the background for the very first time. So if the mixing for that feels off, please let me know. And obviously, as you can tell from the title, the purpose of this stream is pretty much to build some new content for Islanders, which I was just doing anyway. And so I just thought, okay, let's go live, let's stream this. This might be interesting for some of you as well. So basically what we're doing is obviously still worrying about a ton of the bug fixes. We really want the game to run well for as many people as possible. So whatever we can fix, we definitely want to fix. And then other than that, we definitely want to keep supporting the game for a little bit at least and add a bit of new content. So what you see here is one of the new starting islands. That's one of the new islands you'll be able to start on, and what you see here is a new building I just prototyped. Please keep in mind that all of this is still subject to change. None of this might make it into the final game, who knows, I'm just experimenting at this point. But that's why I'm also quite interested in what you think about this. Maybe you can give me some feedback, some ideas for what we could do with these buildings. Maybe you have an idea for a cool endgame building. Hey, welcome everybody. Yeah, Brown Rice, you're not first today. You're real, heyo. All well, very nice. Sounds good, hi, hello. Cool. That is very nice. So, I guess we'll also just do a bit of play testing for the new stuff as well. As you can see here, these new buildings don't have any proper graphics yet. That's because I just blocked them out more or less. This one looks like a laser gun or something. So the idea is that those things here are something like seaweed fields, another early game building you can place to give the game a bit more variety in the early game, a couple more building options you can choose from. And so far I don't really know how this works out in terms of balancing. Maybe we can start on a new island and see if we get the seaweed fields again. We should make more games with Unity, yeah. I agree. Oh, wait a second. This is another new island type. This is basically like the ruin island, but with very flat ruins. I wanted to get the seaweed though. No, come on, give me the seaweed. I want to test the seaweed. That's easy. Testing all of this out takes a bit of time, because obviously we need to get the new buildings before we can test them. Come on. Why am I so unlucky? I could obviously also just use a debug hotkey to cheat some buildings into my inventory. But I'm obviously mainly interested in how these buildings feel when you play properly. Are they balanced? Are they fun to place? Are they interesting to place? Not another one like this. Come on, give me a normal starting island. Hi, welcome everybody. Add villagers wandering around. I'm afraid that will probably not happen. Keep in mind we're a small team, so we have to prioritize what we want to do. Adding stuff like new buildings is very, very easy because we just all of the systems for that basically already exist. Making villagers wander around here would be a bit more complicated and would come with a ton of new challenges. For example, where the hell are they supposed to wander around if all of the buildings are stuffed together like crazy? You know, there are not really any roads. If you have a really highly effective island, then there's no place for them to wander around anyway. So I'm more interested in what you think about these new game systems here, Seaweed Field. And what I did with this is that I displaced the range sphere. As you can see, the field is not in the center of the sphere, but it's a little placed on the has an offset basically, yeah. I wonder what happens if we do that. Does that allow for some interesting gameplay? I mean, we could also just use a normal sphere, I guess. But what's the point in adding another early game building if it feels exactly the same? I'd really like to make new buildings feel very unique and different from the buildings, from the other buildings. So that's why I experimented with offsetting these spheres a bit. I think it feels a bit more logical for these cranes or seaweed farmers here. I have a little bit of a crane at the front here, and that's why this slightly offset range sphere feels more logical for them, I guess. But surprisingly, offsetting the sphere creates quite some interesting new interactions, in my opinion. For example, if I get another seaweed farmer thingy, let's see if I get another one. No, just a couple of fields. Oh, that's okay, I guess. Now, what I like about this is that I didn't really have to code anything new for this, but it still feels pretty new and fresh. I'm just not sure about the context of this. Does it make sense? The seaweed fields have a weird offset range sphere. What do you think? Your videos are very cool. Thank you, Sebastian. It's like Anno. Yeah, basically. It's like Anno, but the very, very casual version of Anno. Why was there no stream yesterday? Because I was building new content for Islanders and I didn't really feel like streaming, so I just didn't. Didn't do anything interesting either, so would not have been an interesting stream. I think today will be a bit more interesting because we will add a couple of new buildings, or as many as we have time for, I guess. Do you use any specific tools to make tests for gameplay? No, I just add stuff to the game and then playtest the game. And at times I use debug hotkeys like enter, where I can gain points by cheating. This game brings me back to play with Unity again. Thanks for that. You're welcome. If I can get you to make cool games as well, that's all I could ever ask for. Ah, see. Now we get another seaweed farmer. Oh my god, that feels a little overpowered. Now see, now that's really interesting. You cannot place it here. Here works quite fine. Yeah, I think the seaweed fields are a little too strong. By the way, we're listening to some Will You Snail music. I guess the Islander soundtrack in theory should be in there as well. Just a couple of tracks. I hope this won't get too annoying, otherwise let me know, I'll just turn it off. It's a little tricky to balance these out properly, but in general I really like the idea. It feels pretty unique and different from the other starting buildings because these fields are placed on water and then your farmer buildings need to be placed on land. Just a little worried about how intuitive or unintuitive this will be for new players. And a little worried about balancing. These lumberjack sawmills seems to be one of the weaker openings on, at the very least on the starting island, because there are usually not a lot of trees. At the moment I have a couple of weird islands in the start rotation. I'll just change that so we get more normal starting islands. Where's the island manager? Here we go. And instead of the test islands, I would like to start with the normal start islands, please. Thank you. Should make testing a little easier. Are we blendering today? No, I don't think so. I think we'll just prototype the gameplay, and then Friedemann will worry about the rest. By the way, this is a bug that should not happen in game. That's just because I just changed the start island, which caused this. Unfortunately, this did happen in game on some islands, but that should be resolved now. Should definitely not happen anymore in the final version of the game. Oh yeah, that's one of the new start islands I built. Feels a little small, and unfortunately I once again didn't get my seaweed. Well, let's see how many points we get with these start buildings, so we can try to balance this out a little bit. 18, okay. So we end up with around 30 points. Let's see how the score is for other start buildings. What laptop am I using? I don't know. A decent one, for sure. Why are there so little trees here? That almost feels like... Yeah, well, I'll have to check that tomorrow, and I'll worry about the balancing of these islands. For now, let's check how many points we get from that farm in the first round. Okay, so around 30 seems to be a normal value. How many points do we get from the seaweed? From the seaweed opener. I want seaweed! Give me seaweed! Dang it! We're still trying to get the 800 points achievement on the first island. I mean, if you get an island like this, it's pretty easy to get that achievement. As a developer, that is. Why did I take the lumberjack? Well, I didn't have another choice, I guess. So if you have a little bit of a better tree placement, you'll still end up at around 30 points. So the goal is to balance the seaweed in a way that we also end up at around 30 points, depending on how well you place them. Come on, give me seaweed now. I want to test the seaweed. Finally. And I still have to figure out the best strategy for those myself. I mean, which one should I place first? At the moment, water farmer gets 4 points from the field, and the field gets 5 points from the farmer, which means I should probably place this first. I'm wondering, should I place this here or here? What will be better in the long run? I guess we'll try to place this here. This ugly laser cannon. Yeah, see, that looks a little overpowered. Overpowered, overpowered, overpowered. Okay, let's fix that. Here's where I basically have all of the settings for the buildings, can see the base score of the building is 7. That's quite high. Then it gets 5 points from the statue, 5 points from the water farmer, and 1 point from every other field. That just in general seems to be too high. Let's reduce the base value to 5 and the points from the statue to 3. And then let's check if that's enough to bring it more in line with the rest. What about this building here? I should probably get a couple fewer points from the statue so you don't have to place it next to the statue. Go, go, go! You feel the seaweed farms are too square for the water. It kind of conflicts with the asymmetrical rocks. Yeah, you might be right about that. In general, I'd say we'll let our artist worry about that. I'm sure Friedemann will figure something out that looks decent. This is just a block out. But obviously the general shape of these affects balancing as well, so maybe you're right. Maybe we should see what happens if we make them a little more asymmetrical. Who did the music for Islanders? That was Friedemann as well. Nice. I can only make annoying music. For example, the one you're hearing right now. It's music I made. Okay, let's check. Where's a good place for the seaweed? Yeah, that feels about right. That's about 30 points. And if I had placed this next to a statue, which on this map just doesn't work, then we would have been slightly above 30 points. So, from what I can tell so far, the balancing's about right. And maybe now, before we make a little bit of a longer test session, how the balancing of this building works out, maybe we can add another building so we can test multiple buildings at once. I think that would make a lot of sense. I really like putting it on places like that. But also put it here. The problem is the seaweed fields can't reach it then. So I should probably put it here. Didn't we just listen to that track? I want to listen to the Islander soundtrack again. That's a little more fitting to what we're doing here. I feel like this gives some interesting new placement options, but I also agree that maybe we can experiment with giving this a different shape. Hello? Now we don't even need to drag that in there. With the new Unity, we can just put it in here. Question is, will this look better if we just make it look a little more chaotic? And rotate those a little outwards. I don't think this will affect gameplay too much, but I guess it's easy to try. Plus, it will be easier to convince the rest of the team this is a nice addition to the game if the building looks somewhat decent. Because as I've said, it's not decided yet that we'll put that into the game. We'll obviously have to see how that works out and how the rest of the team likes my new prototypes here. Can't decide that by myself. So you think that would work a little better? Something like that? Looks a little weird as well, right? Okay, let's see. Hey, just scale it. You mean I should make it longer? Are you creating this game alone is also something you ask? No. It's not a solo project. And by the way, it's already out on Steam. You can already get it. Link in description. Okay. Actually, whoever suggested that, I think you were right. That already looks a little better. But for the details, we'll leave that to our artist. Kinda sad that there are no trees up here. Not enough trees. Okay, let's actually get started on the next building. Because I think the balancing of that seaweed looks more or less fine for now. Next building I want to try is actually a balloon that can hover over the city. Farm. Maybe make a T-shape or a circle. Ah, I guess a circle would be cool as well. Wait, creating object models with Unity. Don't worry, as I've said, I'm just prototyping. This will get a graphics overhaul and we'll make the final meshes with Blender, of course. It's just that it's faster this way. And if I just use a random block that doesn't look like anything, then it's not really fun either. It has to look like something, otherwise it feels kind of weird to place it. Okay, question is which building should I duplicate to build the balloon? Yeah, I think I'll duplicate the city center, because that has about the right size. How do you write balloon, by the way? Balloon. I guess you just write balloon with 2 L and 2 O. Like a plateau that hovers over a balloon. I'm not sure you'll be able to build on the balloon. I mean, that would be fun as well, but maybe that would be a little too much of a cluster. A little too crazy, you know what I mean? Okay, let's put that building in there. We want an original prefab. And then I'll have to go here real quick, because that building needs a new ID. ID staff, I just have to click those objects real quick so that is loaded into memory. And then I can give this object a new ID, which is required for saving and loading. And then I'll just completely remove the visuals of that. And I guess you can also edit that in prefab mode, that is a little more fun. So, begun. Let's add a cube. I'm just trying to keep colliders and meshes separate because all of these cubes I put in here will be deleted later on. And then what I want to do is make that balloon hover over the ground, and that is very easy. I just put it up here. And that seems like a decent hover distance. The question is, does this building work if I remove all of the grounded checkers, or do I need one of them? Let's just see what happens if I delete them all. Let's make this cube a little colorful. As I've said, don't worry, this will look better in-game. Just want to make it look like something. And then the interesting question is, which buildings should the balloon interact with? I'm thinking it should probably interact with the circus and with the tower. What would be some intuitive interactions for the balloon? That's what I'm wondering about. But mostly I want to have a floating building. I hope we find a way to make this work in terms of gameplay, because I imagine this would look really cool. Also, a common issue seems to be people running out of place, so I'm kinda trying to make buildings that don't require any additional space. It's also one of the initial thoughts behind making the seaweed fields, is that you can place them on water and that they don't require any additional space on the island. Oh, you have GameMaker too? Yeah, I use GameMaker to make my other game, Will You Snail? I'm using both engines quite a bit. I'm from Germany, right? And where can we see your game? There are links in the description to both of my games. You can check out both Islanders as well as Will You Snail with the links in the description. And also you can see both of my games on my channel, of course. I've made plenty of videos about both of them. Okay, so this building is already more or less done. Now all we have to define here is what this building interacts with. For this, I'll just clear all of the interactions, and for now, let's just say this building gives us 15 points and doesn't interact with anything. Let's just implement that in the game, and then after that, try to balance it out a bit. Music, where did you go? Oh, we reached the end already of my really short playlist again. Now we're listening to Will You Snail music again. Thanks, Pufuletti. Jaleco, multiplayer could be great. Yeah, sure, let's add multiplayer real quick. That sounds easy. How do you get those red-green sliders for points? You mean those awesome sliders here? That's a custom editor script. That's not a Unity feature, that's something we wrote. Feels like a kind of an unnecessary thing to do because nobody will ever see this except for you as the developer, but it really kind of makes balancing buildings out a little easier and more visual because you don't have to read as many numbers. Just having some visual feedback for the balancing parameters I think is great. especially for buildings that have a lot of parameters. Helps out quite a bit. Okay, so what we need to do now is we need to go create a new building pack. I'll just duplicate something, whatever. Let's duplicate this. BB balloon. And then this building pack will contain the balloon. And then here we can set the requirements for when this building pack can be unlocked. And I think I'll just only set one requirement, and that is the circus. So once you have the circus, you'll also be able to get the balloon. That sounds reasonable. And the balloon will be available both in winter as well as in summer. It doesn't require any special resources. And oh yeah, we need to give it a name. Or did I create that name already? Brewery, Brickyard, no. Seems like I didn't. Then we need to give it a name real quick. Otherwise it will get a bit confusing. Now, giving it a name is a little more complex than it needs to be because the game is available in different languages. So I think what I need to do is to go into resources. Where's resources? Here. And then use the L2 manager to add a new keyword that we'll later have to translate into different languages. And I'll call this key will building names / balloon. Create key. Now it should appear in the correct position of the list, and I can enter the English translation and German translation. Damn, I don't know how to write that in German either. That's embarrassing. Yeah, I think it's just one L and one O. How many copies of Islanders have you guys already sold? Unfortunately, I can't share that number. I think I'm not allowed to due to Valve guidelines, I'd like to tell you. There's an easy way to find out, of course. Either you trust in Steam Spy and their numbers, but I can tell you they're off a little bit. And the other way is you just get the game and make a really low entry on the high score and see how many people are above you. That gives you a pretty good estimate as well. Balloon in French. I mean, if you already know that, then I'll type that in there, I guess. Thank you. Ballon. That's probably how you pronounce it. Valve removed the restriction on sharing data. You can share as you wish. Okay, I'll check that, and if that's the case, I'll do some additional research. If you're right, then I'll just share it in the next video. But spoilerino, it sold quite well. We're quite happy. Okay, now I should be able to select the building name here. Building names, balloon. And I think that's almost all of the steps we have to go through in order to add this building to the game. The last thing we need to do is to add it into this list here, the BB pack. Balloon. Okay. And now I guess we can do some testing, but before we do some testing, let's balance the balloon out a little bit. Globo in Spanish, oh thanks. I mean, we'll have to do a bit of a translation session anyway, sometime soon. So I'll just not bother adding any additional languages, but I appreciate the help. Thank you, thank you. Here we go. Oh yeah, what will the range of the balloon be? I think 2.5 is fine, that's the same as the city center. And then I'll use this new feature here to offset the range of this balloon, because I want the... I guess the range will be on the ground anyway. I want to put the range a little further down. Why? Let me just eyeball these numbers. We can still, while playing, pause the game and change these numbers. That should be possible while playing without any problems. I want this to be a somewhat skill-based building, so I don't want to give it any base score. I want the circus. And the circus, let's say this building gets 10 points from a circus. Points from a tower. From other balloons it will get minus 20 to make sure you don't place them too close to each other. Maybe being a little more liberal with that is better, so you have the option to place them next to each other. I don't want to prevent you from placing them next to each other altogether. I just want to make sure there are no crazy exploits and there's some strategic planning involved. And are there any other buildings we could interact with? Is there anything that would make sense? What could interact with a balloon? Ah, the statue, of course. Obviously this will get points from the statue as well. From the statue we'll do 5. Should we also punish the balloon for flying over the city? Question is also what's the reason for that? What's the story behind that? Do you not want the balloon to crash on the city, or is the city too ugly? Or I feel like it needs to be somewhat logical. I feel like it could also get points for flying over the resort oasis. That's also kind of a fun building, where you can kind of imagine people looking up to the balloon and being happy about the balloon. I don't know. You really enjoy the music I made for the snare game? Thank you. Have you heard of a program called Godot, and if so, what do you think of it? Everything I've heard about it so far sounds very, very good, but unfortunately I haven't tried it yet. Okay, and then I think Would obviously be cool if a couple of other buildings would interact with the balloon as well. For example, we can give the tower some additional points for the balloon. I just want to lock all of these changes I make to buildings somewhere. So give me a sec. I just want to keep track of all of the changes we make. So I think I want to give the tower some additional points for being next to a balloon. I can already add a new node here for building added balloon. Nodes will be added later. Don't have time for that crap now. Here we have the tower. I'll give the tower 5 points for a balloon. Gets 5 points for balloon. Because that's a new interaction. Yeah, listening to the same music over and over again. So, Mr. Tower, you will get 5 points at interaction for every balloon in range. Where are these stupid balloons? Ah, here. The ugly one. Very nice. Okay, let's just keep it like that and let's just play a little bit. Let's play around. Let's see what happens. And I tend to adapt balancing while playing. Anyway, that feels like a workflow that makes quite a lot of sense. Maybe a minus for trees because the balloon scares the birdies. Who agrees that that would be a logical interaction? I'm not sure. I feel like flying a balloon over nature might even be more intuitive than flying a balloon over the city, because flying a balloon over the city is also kind of dangerous, right? Us balancing the game in uni, 3 spreadsheets of Excel, Jonas balancing Islanders, maybe 15. Yo man, I don't... Yeah, for some games you need giant spreadsheets. Best way to go about it in my experience is just to playtest a lot and playtest even more. Plus, you don't want the game to be perfectly balanced anyway. What I'm really shooting for is that it's situational and allows for a lot of different strategies that kind of depend on the island you're on, while keeping it somewhat easy to understand, and there's a lot of things to keep in mind. Yeah, I guess we'll play on the second island. First ones aren't really balanced properly yet, so let's play on a proper island. I hope we'll get one. Oh, I think that's a new island type as well, but that looks like we can play here. I'll start with seaweed. And maybe we should allow this building to be placed on a little steeper terrain, similar to the mason. That could be useful for situations like that. Oh, I have 2 of these. What do we do with them? Ah, dang it, they're slightly still in range. Maybe I can place that here later on. Nice. Okay. Okay, seems like Freeman already balanced that correctly, cause here's no sand. I was already afraid that I would get a bunch of sand pits on an island that doesn't have any sand. That is obviously not supposed to happen. Put that here. And let's put that here. Guess I'll get more points if I wait on that a little bit. And what's... there's not really a big area we can build on, which makes it a little tricky. Guess this is the best building area we have. As you can see, I'm also not playing this as professionally as some of the other players you see on Steam, posting their crazy, highly optimized screenshots. I was really surprised by how many points you can get in this game. I really did not expect that whatsoever. Oh man, my buildings look so weird compared to the other ones. I hope Friedemann will be able to fix them. Let's just place another one here. And now we'll have to wait until we get the balloon. And I already have no space for the circus, which sucks. Let's get the fissure. You wish there was a way to zoom in a little more? Yeah, that's a very highly requested feature. Surprisingly. You haven't upgraded to Unity 2019, yeah, that just came out, right? We were a little scared to update that already. But we'll definitely do so. Probably tomorrow morning we'll update and hope that nothing breaks. Finally, another city center. Problem is, there's really not a lot of building space here. Like, the building space seems to be one of the deciding factors on how many points you can get. I guess we have a bit of space down here. Are you using the new HDRP render pipeline? No, I don't think so. You love the hide and scene for Unity 2019. What does that feature do? I haven't heard about that. Yeah, Sebastian, you agree with me that playing is the most important thing for balancing. if you just use pure math to balance your game, the balancing will probably turn out pretty boring, I assume. Okay, maybe I can now start separating my houses a little more. I'll just place that to get rid of it. Should the fisher maybe be impacted by these seaweed farms? Should the fisher get a bonus from seaweed or minus points? Does he even care? Let's give the fisher 1 point for water farmers. Or should we do 2 points? And then one thing I should probably keep in mind is that whenever I add interactions like that, we need to balance it out a little bit because we don't need to, or I don't want to inflate the scores too much. That will definitely make the fishes quite a bit better, so. I mean, when in doubt, I'll obviously make the building stronger and not weaker, but I think even with this change, it's probably still quite good. So let's note that we made a change to the fisher. Gets 2 points from water farmer, or however we'll call this building, seaweed farmer or whatever. In my project I develop since over 1 year with 2 other people. After 15 minutes you got it all running again? Okay. I mean, in the best case scenario, it shouldn't break anything, but I guess for these major updates that is rarely the case. Usually something breaks, right? Nice. Sorry, which changes was I about to make? Maybe I should focus a little more. Yeah, the fisher is selected and the fisher gets 2 points from water farmer, but the base score was reduced from 5 to 4. Base score reduced from 5 to 4. Not that that makes a massive difference, but neither does this change. And it probably just feels cool if they have a little bit of an interaction with other buildings. We want this to be an interconnected system, right? Yo, Jonas, keep it up. Hope your channel grows. You deserve it. Thank you. I appreciate that. Interesting. I can't remember placing these balloons there. Seems like all of the city centers turned into balloons. That's probably because they're sharing the same ID. I thought I gave them a new ID. ID 38. And what about balloon? Oh, damn it. 38 as well. Get new ID. And I hope this will be saved now. Dang it. Okay, so unfortunately there's no way to revert that, but from now on it should work fine. We can already get a little bit of a feeling for... Oh no, it fixed it actually. Oh, that's... Oh, very nice. That means I can continue playing on this island. The only thing that's pretty strange is that this rock here disappeared. Oh no, why did that happen? These island generator save load bugs are so annoying. Let's just pretend like we can't see that. We'll worry about that another time. Oh, nice. 20 points for a hut. That's always good. I'll take it. Yeah, see, and now we get quite a lot of extra points for this fissure, so probably the -1 isn't really enough to balance out that fissure, honestly. And after that change, it will still be better than before, I feel like. Oh jeez, I have opened that twice. Base score reduced from 5 to 2. What is a minaret? Ah. Is a minaret not specific to a certain religion though? What we try to do in Islanders is to keep it as neutral as possible in terms of what civilization this is, or what culture, what nationality this is. We kind of wanted to keep that open. But I've definitely thought about making another building that somewhat synergizes with the temple. So you have to plan for the temple placement a little more. That could be cool. We should probably experiment with that. Okay, here I need to leave a little bit of space for the gold mine. And here I can place my juicy fissure. That's one of my favorite tracks from Will You Snail for sure. It's the soundtrack from the underwater level. Oh, hope I won't run out of points. That would be embarrassing. I got my value huts here, so I guess we're fine. And here we have our shaman city center combo. And here I'll just start another settlement. I take. I see platform, I take. And then I did some changes to the tower as well, actually, in case you've played the game already. I increased the range a little bit, and I also offset the range sphere a little bit. So, as you can see, it shouldn't change the interaction with other buildings too much. You can still place it next to your city and get a ton of points from your city. But you can actually increase the radius by placing it on the high ground now. So we can almost get the same amount of points from placing it on the high ground here. Maybe in this case it's not the best to place it here, probably even more efficient to place it here. But before that I was a little sad that placing the tower on the high ground wasn't really a viable strategy, and I think now it is. Now you can do both. You can place it on the low ground, but you can place it on the high ground as well. Both works. I'm pretty happy about that. I have no idea where we'll build the temple later, but I guess we'll figure it out. Guess we'll build the temple somewhere down here. Here, placing a shaman next to that is easily worth it, because we get... Ah, dang it! No, the terrain is too steep to place anything here. Oh, I didn't see that. Okay, that's a little bit of a shame. Oh, Russian is selected as default. Yeah, you mean when we pause the game, or when we... What do you call that? I'm curious to see how these wheat fields will play out, or these seaweed fields will play out on the long run. I kinda wanna give the points, the tower points for the seaweed, but I guess that wouldn't make any sense at all. I'd just like to have those points now. Okay, now we can place the circus down here. Oh, actually the shaman doesn't care about the circus. That's interesting. I should probably place it a little further away, because we don't want to destroy that temple placement. The temple position. Oh, come on, that's not a lot of points. Okay, that's 31, I can live with that. How do you get the particle effects to go from the game object to the UI? I mean, let's just pause the game the next time that happens, and I'll show you. Where are the particles here? Here you can see them flying through the air. And they're basically just flying towards the camera. Where's the camera? Can we make that visible somehow? Camera rig. Yeah. So basically somewhere in the bottom left corner of that camera there's an object, and they're really just lerping in the world space between the object and that object we parented into the camera here. It's not really all that complex, but it looks cool in game, I agree. This is a tough island, man. There's not a lot of space. Hope I'll get the wall plateaus soon. Oh my god, I haven't planned for the resort oasis at all. Can I get somehow both of those in range? I'm not really sure if I'm happy with this, because obviously the rules of the game influence quite heavily how players will place these buildings. And I'm not quite sure I want to encourage players to build them like that. That looks a little you know. I hope I'll get the temple soon. The music just switches so abruptly because none of the music I'm playing right now is looping. Sorry. All of those are basically music loops, but they are not looping. So that's why they end that abruptly. I don't even have a space for my fountain. Come on. This island is brutal. Yeah, I guess I'll take the warehouse, and the warehouse definitely needs to get points from these here. Let's add that interaction really quick. Warehouse. Yeah, I'm not reading chat all of the time, sorry. I'm always just reading 1 or 2 messages and then I'll continue working for a bit. So if you have an important question, if you use that @Jonas, if you type that in chat, then your message will be highlighted in yellow. Just a little secret tip if you want me to notice your messages. But obviously if everybody does that, then it won't matter either. Warehouse. You will get points for what will you get points? For the water farmer. Let's do 4 points. Oh no, sort and clean. And then the question is, do we need to counterbalance that a little bit? Because obviously that once again made the building a little better. And I'm scared to inflate the value of that building too much. Guess I'll nerf that brickyard score a little bit. Warehouse gets 4 points from water farmer. And as we don't want to inflate points too much, we'll reduce Brickyard's point to 6. I could also give the building a negative value. I don't really want to do that either. Yeah. As I've said, when in doubt, I'll rather make this building a little better, so let's keep it at a small nerf. Points from Brickyard decreased from 7 to 6. Any plans for adding mod support? Honestly, I have no idea how you even add mod support to your game. Also, someone already managed to pull it off to make a sandbox mode for our game. So apparently it's already possible to create mods. I'm not really sure what we'd have to do to make modding easier. I have absolutely no experience with that. Also, I mean, some people have suggested that it would be really cool if people could add their custom buildings. But then once again, just adding mod support for that would feel a little bit like a waste of time. Just for the buildings, I'm not saying mod support would be a waste of time. Just saying this game does not need a ton more buildings. Sure, a couple more, maybe 10 more or something would be cool, but at some point it's enough, you know? At some point it just gets too complicated. And then these tooltip lists will get longer and longer, and then, yeah, you know, there's just so many buildings this game can bear. 20-point warehouse. I'll take it. Oh, 19-point mansion. You don't see that every day. I hope I'll find a nice place for the market. Oh no. Oh no. I don't find a nice place for the market. That's bad news. I wanna get to the balloon. Why haven't we gotten the balloon yet? Have I already placed a tower? No, not yet. Okay. Balloons will also get points for the circus. I'll place my towers over here. Ah, that's only 10 points though. Give me the balloon. Oh, come on. Okay, temple is fine as well, I guess. $66 points for a temple. Should we take it? By the way, sorry if I'm missing your chat messages again. I'll check them in a sec. Oh, the walls. Do you want to see how the new walls work? I think that's pretty cool as well. See? The new walls have a range sphere on each side of the wall, so now you can finally place them next to each other without getting a penalty for it. And you can place them on water, which in theory should make it a little easier to place them as well. And their collider size has been decreased, so you can finally fit them onto these platforms. Seems like... yeah. Didn't leave any space for it again, so... I thought I improved that wall quite a bit, but surprisingly it still feels quite useless. 16-point wall, I'll take it. I want the balloon and the wall plateau, please. Please, I don't want to lose yet. It's too soon. My precious testing time. Ah, right, I wanted to read chat. Sorry, I forgot. How do you translate everything to 12 languages? No, we don't have 12 languages. We have like 7 different languages. And yes, we paid people to translate the game for us. How do you save the game progress? I'm not super proud of how we did it in this game, honestly. Next time I'd do a lot better job, I think, at saving the game progress. The way we do it at the moment, for the buildings and for the trees and all of that stuff, is that we save their position. And then for the rest of the island, we just save the seed, the generation seed, which in my opinion was a big mistake. I would definitely not do that again, because that can cause weird bugs like over here, where sometimes just objects are missing for no reason, or if you're unlucky, an entirely different island gets generated and all your stuff is floating in the air. And every time you change a teeny tiny little detail in your island generator, everything breaks down, all of your save files are broken. So honestly, the way we did that, or the way I did that in this game, because I wrote the save game stuff, was pretty stupid. I wouldn't recommend to do it that way. I would definitely just recommend to save the position of all objects individually, and don't just save the seed. Because if you just save the seed, then you can't make any changes to how the island generator works, which is annoying, and obviously you have to make changes to how the island generator works every now and then. I mean, if you want to know in more detail how the saving works, then I guess you should probably watch a tutorial. There's some pretty good tutorials, and it's not nothing special really. It's just the realization. Or if a lot of people are interested in that, I guess I can make a tutorial about it at some point as well. Just think I can probably not explain that in a very short amount of time here on stream. What am I working on? I'm working on new buildings. One I've already unlocked here, the seaweed farmer and the seaweed fields, which by the way will not look like this if we decide to put them into the game. They're just prototyped graphics to figure out if their gameplay works. And so far they work decently well, but I'm not entirely happy with them yet. And then the other building we just implemented and that I'd like to test is the balloon. Unfortunately, I haven't managed to unlock the balloon yet, so I'll have to keep trying, and hopefully I'll be able to unlock the stupid balloon. And on top of that, this also gives me an opportunity to test out this new island prefab. This is a new island prefab as well. This island type is not in the game yet, and I can already tell that it will probably not go into the game like this. I want to have a little more open building areas. This feels a little too tight, in my opinion. Would be more fun if we had a little more space. Okay, see, I have barely enough space to place anything here. I mean, I can place... Where are all my fields? Do I not have any hop fields? Did Friedemann disable hop fields on this island? That is a little strange. Dang it, I think I lost. No. We won't let that happen. Let's just cheat to the next building. Come on, just give me the stupid balloon. I want to have the balloon. Come on. Touch that stupid brewery, tavern. I want those 18 points. I guess 27 is as good as it will get. Another seaweed field for the flying seaweed farmer. As you can see, this workflow just contains a surprisingly high amount of playtesting. Playtesting just takes a while as well. Am I just really unlucky, or did I not implement the balloon correctly? That's the question. Let's just see if we can unlock it. Finally! The pretty balloon. Nice, I actually think that looks really cool, even though the graphic looks really dumb so far. 20 points here. It should probably not be allowed to fly near the temple. I think that's actually one thing that really makes a lot of sense. Let's not allow the balloon to be next to the temple. And then other than that, I kinda like it. We could have optimized the amount of points we get quite a bit by putting the circus in the... Come on. Really just placed it there. Dang it. Now I could use an undo function as well. Stupid anti-veer. Finally, I get the wall plateaus. Where's the market? Ah, here. No, that was what I was looking for, the warehouse. I want to make sure the market is close to the warehouse. And then perhaps we can place another one here outside of the range of the other warehouse. Oh no, it's in range. Ah, dang it. I agree, undo feature would be very cool. I mean, what's a little dumb about the balloon is that the little number is placed at the bottom. That looks strange. But maybe we can fix that visually by making the balloon tied to the ground or something. Hello? Hello? The question is, how do you make something that looks like a rope out of blocks? Is that even possible? Let's make that brown. Once again, don't worry. If we decide to implement this will look better in the final game. Yeah, that is wow, 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 beautiful. What the hell? Yeah, it doesn't really look like a rope, I know. No play a bit of Will You Snail? Awesome. Seems like we have a lot of German fellas in the chat at the moment, which is fine. I'll just keep answering in English to be a little more inclusive, if that's okay with you. Bum, 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 bum. In the next game, try saving into multiple files. Yeah, I mean, what I should have done is just saving the position of all of these, because the entire island is made out of objects anyway, so all I really would have to do is saving the position of these individual meshes. Oh, is that completely underground? No, that is just the collider, dang it. I'd like to grab one and move it around. But seems like Unity doesn't want me to. Just give me that stupid mountain, no? Ah, okay, sorry, I know why I cannot select that. That's because due to the color baker. This is all one giant mesh. That's one of the performance improvements we implemented shortly before launch, that whenever you place a building, it's just baked into one giant mesh, so everything can be drawn at once. Okie dokie dokie. Do I have another balloon? No. Let me check how many balloons we even get. Open prefab. Oh, only 5. I mean, yeah, I should probably not get too many balloons. Maybe we can increase that to 6, but should probably not go any higher than that. And then I also said I want to give the balloon minus points for the temple. Let's do minus 20. The balloon definitely is not allowed to fly over the temple. Then I wonder if we can just make this balloon a bit more rewarding if you place it correctly. But obviously we don't want it to be quite as extreme as the temple or the resort oasis. I guess it's okay if you get quite a couple of points from this building. Maybe something like this could work. And honestly, I'll just have to play a couple of rounds to see if this balancing makes sense or not. Why is the plateau slightly bigger than the temple? I mean, the main idea is to make sure there's enough place so you can comfortably place it. I guess that was the initial idea behind it. But now that you can comfortably place the temple up there, of course people started to complain that they can't fit another wall on there, so that is possible now. See, and that looks quite nice, so I think the spacing on these platforms is okay. You've seen some of my tutorials, awesome. Yeah, sure, I'm happy if I can help, if you found my content useful. I'm very, very happy to hear that. Because game development is awesome and I'm absolutely willing to share everything I learn with you guys. It's a win-win situation. You get cool free content. I get to promote my games for free, more or less. Okay. I'm really not happy with the seaweed placement. Earlier I tried a version where these seaweed fields affect each other negatively. That was a bit more interesting. Maybe I should try that again. Yeah. Can I have another balloon, please? I want one more balloon. Give me another balloon. Come on. We'll just wait. I'll just read chat in the meantime. Have you thought about making the water field circles? I really like that idea. Somebody suggested it earlier, so I guess we'll try that. Have you considered making a Udemy course or something? Yeah, I'd like to do that if I can come up with something, with a good topic. Oh yeah. I think this will look fine once it's animated, once it has a little better graphics. And the amount of points you can get out of this seems fine as well. Like an average of 25 points, or you can get to 25 points quite easily. And if I had placed the circus a little more cleverly on this side of the map, could have gotten quite a bit more. There's another 25 points balloon here. Oh, that tower is stuck in the balloon. Is it? Or maybe I shouldn't... Is the collider not big enough to disallow that? I mean, that should in theory not be possible. Oh no, that is... See, I have the much requested zoom feature is finally in the game. Was the tower collider off, or is the other collider off? Dang it, now it's so hard to check because everything is just one giant mesh and I can't select the initial collider of this building. Let's check the tower collider. Why the hell is that? What the hell? I guess if we want to be nice, we'll make the big part of the collider end here and then extend the rest of that collider upwards with a smaller collider. Oh, seems like there are different variations of that tower. Obviously they should all have the same kind of collider. Now the final variation, we'll get the new collider as well. Cool. Cool. Just gotta fix stuff like that right away when you see it. Some people suggested making the seaweed fields round. Yeah. Okay. You want the seaweed fields round? Okay, we'll make it round. Don't you want to make a version of Islanders for mobile? The answer to that is relatively simple. We do want to have a version for mobile, but we don't want to make it because that is a super annoying, tedious process. Or maybe we'll find a way to outsource it to somebody else, but like it's a really nasty, annoying job. a lot of performance optimization and not really working on anything creative. I mean, as I said, we'd love to have a version for mobile. That would be absolutely awesome. Just a bunch of really dumb work that none of us wants to do. So we'll see. Maybe we'll find a way to make it happen. We wanted to make the Z weed round. Water field. Ah man, I should probably rename that to Z weed. But guess now it will be called water field to all eternity. Okay, so how do we make that round? That's the question. First of all, I need to check if round colliders still work. I'm not sure. I remember we implemented that. I'm not sure if it's still working, honestly. Because as far as I know, we don't actually have any round colliders in the game for the buildings. Sphere. I don't need the sphere mesh, I just want the collider. And then we'll disable this collider. And then I'll just check if the collider still works, and otherwise we'll use a workaround that I've used for a couple of the other buildings as well. You can actually make a more or less round collider with squares as well, if you use multiple squares. Just write it in chat about every 5 minutes. He has to see it eventually. What's the exception error? That's just the Steam API is not found. That's because Steam is not on at the moment. As you can see here, my ranking is not displayed. If I would turn on Steam, then we could see my ranking. Are most of the models just built in Unity? No, they're all built in Blender. I'm just building them in Unity for the sake of prototyping this more quickly. And later on they will be redesigned in Blender and made more beautiful. They will not keep looking like this. Building idea, aqueduct. I think that's a good idea in terms of how it would look in the city, how it would fit in there thematically and all of that. What I'm not quite sure about is how it would add something interesting to the gameplay, because I imagine an aqueduct would probably work quite similar to the tower, that it has sort of a medium to large range and just gets points for buildings in range. And we already have a building that does that, which is the tower, and we already have the market and a lot of similar buildings. So if you want to add another building like that, then we would have to come up with something that feels a little different. So what did I just do? Alright, I wanted to test if the colliders are working. That's the problem with answering stuff in chat, you just lose track of what you are doing. Okay, actually seems like the round colliders are working, which is honestly is surprising. Didn't expect that. But that's cool, that means we can use them. We'll just change the gameplay of these a little bit again. I still think they should probably be arranged in a way so they are facing in one direction, right? Obviously we'll rotate them a little bit to make them look more messy once we're done. But I feel like they should be pointing more or less in the same direction. Oh, I'm not good at this, as you can clearly tell. This doesn't look super nice. Let's check how that works with the collider. Oh no. Can I somehow make sure I keep seeing that? Maybe I'll just... Maybe I should not have deleted that sphere thingy. Oh my god. Hearing the same music over and over. I mean, okay, that fits in there more or less. Okay. And then for the range, what happens if you put another one on the other side? And what if they get minus points from each other? That probably means we need to give them a couple more points for other stuff to balance that out a little bit. But I wonder which kind of placement that encourages now. Okay, so let's test the new seaweed. The old one was clearly not working properly. Oh my god, so many messages in chat, I'm really not used to that at all. That's awesome. But also a little dumb because I feel like I can't really answer everything if I want to keep working at the same time. It could have two small colliders at both ends and two areas of effect around those colliders. That's actually similar to what I thought. Oh my god, that looks kinda cute. That's more or less what you meant, I guess, right? Dimitri, if that's how your name is pronounced. John Ingley asks, what are you making? I'm making new buildings for the game Islanders, which you can get on Steam. Link in description. Check it out, it's only $5. And as I've said earlier, none of these buildings are guaranteed to make it into the game. I'm just prototyping them, and then if they are good enough, I'll be able to convince the rest of the team to put them in there. Or, I mean, if I don't like them myself, then obviously I'll not try to convince them. That's kind of fun as well. Then you can try placing it in between two of those cranes. Let's keep experimenting with that a little bit. What happens if we make those spheres a little smaller? And then, I mean, how can we do that visually so it feels like it makes a little more sense? It's a question as well. We work a click team fusion 2.5. What does that mean? Click Team Fusion, is that a clicker game, or what are you comparing our game to here? I hope it's something good. Yeah. Even though I managed to make this game look quite bad with my handcrafted Unity prototyping graphics here. I mean, we should probably try this on a new island. I'm really not sure how this will play. Although, like, why would it be like that? I feel like this doesn't really make a lot of sense. Really dumb idea. What if we put those spheres way further out? Just a little worried, because I feel like that is an interaction that could potentially work in the late game when people already know how this game works. Then it would probably be quite intuitive to understand. I'm just worried because the main purpose of this building is to offer another early game option. So we have to assume that people do not really know yet how this game is played. And therefore maybe something like this will be a bit confusing. Also, like, what's the reasoning behind this? Like, I feel like it makes a lot of sense with the wall, where you have two bubbles, one of each side. That feels kind of intuitive. Like for the wheat field, for the seaweed field, what would be the reasoning behind that? Awesome, now we can get both of those though. Now it looks like fallen trees in the water. How did you do the color palette randomizer? That is a good question. Basically works like this. We pick 4 random colors, and then all of the other colors are interpolations between those colors. So I think the main colors are probably the watercolor, the grass color, here, the color of those rooftops, and maybe the stone color, something like that. And then all of the other colors are interpolations between those 4 colors, and usually then that ends up generating pretty cute color schemes. I guess it's a little more complicated than that, because sometimes we do some hue or saturation adjustments after that interpolation. But the main concept is definitely just interpolating between 4 random colors. By the way, that's also how Paul and Friedemann did it in Superflight. That's where they have that, where they first tried that technique, I guess. Yeah, right, let's start a new island. And let's see if we can somehow balance the seaweed a little more reasonably. And then, I mean, we're already kinda out of time, but it's fun, so maybe we can come up with another late game building. Do you have an idea for a cool late game building? Because now we have one additional early game building, which is the seaweed. We have one additional mid game building, which is the balloon. And one challenging late game building would be cool as well. At the moment, I'm thinking something that works in combination with the temple would be cool. So for the late game, what we want is buildings that require a lot of planning and that are really hard to place properly, to kind of give those super skilled players something to play around with. That's the purpose of the late game buildings, I guess. And then the purpose of the early game buildings is, or of the additional early game building here, is hopefully to make the early game just a bit more varied. So the main thing I want to achieve with these seaweed fields is to make them feel different than the other early game options you have. Okay, let's just see how this works out this time. Place one field here. I guess we can place another field here, but that will cost us 1 point. Or we can spread them out a little. You're actually right, it looks like fallen trees in the water. Are they brown? Why are they brown? Oops. Did I use brown for that? Let's try on another island. Absolutely love your content, watched most of your vids. Thank you. We are creating a game, are wondering what's the best way to market your game. I plan to do a video about that sometime soon. I'm not really a marketing expert, I have to say. I haven't really done a lot of marketing myself. But I definitely like to share what I've learned so far. So far I definitely have the impression that the look and the fantasy of your game are two extremely important marketing factors that are worth investing a lot of time into, even if your game's already finished. Like just maybe investing a bit of extra time to just make it look a little better, a little more unique, and to really communicate the fantasy of your game properly, I think can help a ton. Because surprisingly for this game, for Islanders, we didn't really have to do a whole lot. Basically, we posted a really nice looking teaser on Twitter, and because it was nice looking and had a nice fantasy, the tweet blew up. Got a ton of views from games media, and then it was a downhill battle. A lot of them started requesting keys and started featuring us. We didn't even have to reach out to the press. They more or less reached out to us. And that is pretty much the best case scenario you can hope for, I guess. We did reach out to a couple of people. That's probably still something you should do. Key mailer seems to be a pretty useful tool as well, that allows you to send out huge amount of keys to influencers, streamers, YouTubers, so that might be worth looking into. And a couple of other small things, I guess, that I'll have to think about and collect. Why did I not get any seaweed this time? Let's start again. I want seaweed. Be sure to check out the dev of the indie game Equilinox, definitely. Thin Matrix, big fan of his content. I obviously know his channel. But in case you do not know Thin Matrix and you're into game development, you should definitely check out his channel. He makes pretty cool devlog videos as well, and his game Equilinox is awesome. Has a pretty similar art style actually. Pretty low poly as well. I guess it looks quite different. Different, but similar. Yeah, my brain capacity is clearly decreasing. I feel like in terms of how these fields are placed, this looks a little nicer, right? Just the fields themselves look so dumb. Friedemann will figure this out, our artist. He can make magic happen, I believe. You just gotta make sure they work in terms of gameplay. Okay, we'll not be able to get to the balloon here, I'm afraid. I'd really love to add another late game building. Have you posted any suggestions for another late game building yet? I've been thinking past few days that it's possible that only focusing on really good quality is enough for marketing. I'm afraid that is probably not the case. But what is the case is that if you have a really high quality game, I'm not even sure if the quality of your game matters all that much. It matters more how it looks and how it communicates its core fantasy. I mean, I guess you can make a really cool game, but if nobody gets it from looking at screenshots, then it will be definitely harder to market the game. I assume. I do not know. It's all based on my assumptions, but in my head it makes sense. Here, by the way, the double city center for some reason is a strategy that most players haven't figured out yet. I think it's totally worth it. You can make those points back in no time. But initially, of course, the 40 points you lose from that feels like a big investment. Give me more seaweed. I want to test out more seaweed. Oh, dang it, those city centers are out of range for that fisher. So you can, with the houses, you can get the double city center points so often. Okay, let's... I'm not quite sure how I feel about the double sphere for the seaweed. Let's try one sphere again. And let's try making that a lot bigger, but also moving it up quite a bit. I wonder what that does to the game. Seems like Islanders is getting successful. Hope to see the marketing video soon. Releasing my own games, yeah, definitely let me know when you release your game or send me a key. I'll check it out if I have the time to do so. And obviously I wish you the best of luck with publishing your game. Hope your game succeeds as well. Maybe I have to move the sphere a little further up. That's not quite how I imagined this would look. But pretty close. It already encourages you to spread those fields out a little bit. For late game mode, if you would add little animals like rabbit and build a carrot field for them. Maybe a giant monster rabbit that needs a lot of carrots. Oh, that sounds like a fun idea. Not quite sure how it fits in with the rest. Man, hearing that Will You Snail music in an endless loop will cause me nightmares probably. Or an endless earworm, it will never stop. Oh yeah, see? That's interesting, isn't it? Still can't place them all that close together. Maybe the fields should lose 2 points from one another, I'm not sure. We'll have to figure out the details. Just wanna make a new cool building that feels different than the rest. Let's put that here. Was that in range? Okay, guess it's in range. However, now it feels a lot like some of the other buildings again. Tricky, quite tricky. I know, it's just an endless back and forth, and I can't really decide, which is a shame. Maybe you can do the rabbit for special occasions like Easter. And that sounds like a really fun thing to do. Just to clarify though, our goal is probably not to keep working on this game forever. Our main goal at the moment is to just leave it in a very good state where we can be happy with what we've created. And then eventually we'd like to move on to creating new games, of course. So I'm not sure if we'll have the time to do special Easter events or stuff like that. Probably not really worth it. Which sucks, I know. But don't worry. As I've said, we want to leave this game in a very good state. For sure. Gimme more seaweed, gimme more seaweed. Like, this didn't really feel very interesting to place this. You just place them in a circle around that thingy. I wish there was a way to make that a little harder to optimize without making it too weird, like placing 3 random spheres around the field. That might do the trick, but that will also just be weird. If we do make them get points from each other, then players will just clump them together like crazy here, which is probably even more uninteresting. Or at least if we do it like this, then we can build from outwards, inwards with a strategy. You can try to place them in a way that allows you to later on maybe place another seaweed collector on this island here to cover those two. Well, I guess I'll just see how that plays out. It feels like one of the better solutions we had so far. But then I can always think that... but stuff like that is cool, see? I like that kind of puzzling. Where when you rotate the fields a bit, you can put them closer together without getting any minus points. That's cool. Yeah, that's cool. I like that. That's the kind of interactions I was looking for. Okay, let's read some questions again. An elevator tower to build platforms on it and expand the city vertically. So basically just a giant tower that you can place wall platforms on. Yeah, that's a cool idea as well. I'll keep that in the back of my mind. Because expanding the city vertically is definitely something we might be able to experiment a bit more with. For example, I'm still a little bummed out that there's no stackable building in Islanders anymore. No building that you can stack on top of itself to build a skyscraper. We had that in prototyping phase, but for some reason it didn't make it into the final game. And I can't remember why. See? Oh yeah, that's cool. Now I can place another field here, get the full amount of points. Dang it, island is too small. Oh, that house is a little misplaced. Who cares? I'm so pro that I can place them wherever I want. I'll never lose, because I have the cheat button. Like, that's one of my nightmare scenarios, that one day we We just built the game without disabling all of the debug hotkeys. And we accidentally upload it to Steam, and we don't realize that all of the debug hotkeys are still enabled, and then the entire leaderboard will just be filled with garbage posts. That's what I get nightmares of. Always triple check before I make a build. Nice, you know, we can leverage all of these fields here. Yeah. Yeah. I like those interactions. Very, very nice, very nice. Yeah, I like that better, because you can still kind of clump them together, but you're also a little more encouraged to spread them out a bit. I like that. Plus we only need one sphere. Ooh, sweet. 20 points. Wish I could place another city center here to get even more points from that hut. And then sometimes I just get lost in endless playtest sessions. Okay. Shall we do a final vote for what we want to do for the final building? The late game building? I think we have room for one more. Shall we do something that interacts with the temple? Shall we do something very different? Like, which interesting buildings are there that interact with a lot of other buildings in interesting ways? You move the sphere on a vertical axis. I mean, yeah, I can move the sphere on a vertical axis, and I did that for the seaweed, so they can kind of touch the seaweed collector if it's placed above the seaweed fields. I think that makes it a little more unique and interesting, and also allows you to reach the seaweed collector if it's placed a little further up. I think that makes sense. Smart way to advertise your game, good job. I mean, there are only 50 people watching right now. It's not a huge advertisement, I guess it's something. Are you using GitHub? Yes, we're using GitHub. Can you build a social media audience on Steam and create your own community from your own game, extend from there using Facebook, Twitter, etc.? Is that a question? Oh no, that is a sentence. I mean, obviously, if you can bring your audience from different platforms to other platforms, that's always great. Unfortunately, most platforms don't really like it if you take traffic away. In my experience. Maybe that's a myth, but I think it makes sense. I like Discord for community building, it's great. I have a lot of control on Discord. Steam Community Hub is nice as well. But I'm still figuring all of that social media stuff out. Steam gives you the option to build excitement for your game called Steam Direct and allows you to build a presence on Steam. Yeah, I mean, yes, we obviously have a Steam page and a presence on Steam. And I'm pretty sure that the player base from Islanders trickled over to my YouTube channel a bit. Maybe that's why the channel is growing so much lately. Or maybe publishing Islanders has just given me a bit of a credibility boost. Who knows? Yeah, but the question I wanted to ask is, what do we do for the final building? We still haven't answered that question. You have sci-fi buildings like a portal or something. No. No, I don't think that fits into the setting. Love Islanders, great game and awesome to see the journey. Thank you. I appreciate that. That is very motivating and keeps me going. Oh my god, what did I just do? I tried to change the camera to this. No, we have... Okay. Okay. Let's put that back where it belongs. I think it'd be cool if the next late game building we add is it's more of a small one that you can fit in a lot of spaces, but one that still requires a bit of planning. Because we already have a lot of space issues anyway. Islands generally seem to be a little too small at times, so I don't really want to make any buildings that take away even more space unnecessarily. Or what could a small building be that's still hugely important and can still give a lot of points and can be hard to place? That's the question. A cemetery. Let me Google that. I think I know what that is. Just want to make sure. Yeah. Cemetery. Not sure if that would destroy the beautiful, colorful, happy atmosphere of the game though. I saw your channel on my recommended tab the day before you launched Islanders. Awesome. Yeah, and then you probably saw the devlog video I made that for some reason really caught on YouTube. A building that spawns a new random island at the expense of 100 points. Oh yeah, that's a really cool idea as well. Something to expand your building space. Graveyard. Yeah, cemetery is a graveyard. Yeah, I figured that out already. Thank you. Can you say why you use Unity? I mean, it's hard for me to make a comparison because I haven't really used any other game engines like Unreal. The only two engines I've used so far is Game Maker Studio and Unreal Engine, so I can only compare between those two. And obviously if you compare those two, then Unity is just a lot better for making big games and obviously a lot better for making 3D games. And Unreal, for me, the one time I tried it felt a little clunky, but that's probably because I didn't really try for a very long amount of time. But I've heard from a couple of people that Unity in general is a little better for having creative freedom if you want to do some special interactions and unconventional stuff. Use Unity because Unity can be expanded quite easily. A lot of extensions and you can customize pretty much everything. You can write custom editor windows and all of that, so Unity is just a very flexible program. If you're going for a standard AAA like shooter game or something like that, then perhaps Unreal is a better choice. If you're just going for 2D games and you want to make 2D games very easily without a lot of effort, then maybe GameMaker or Godot is a better choice. So it really depends on what you want to make, probably. Buildings. A building that consists of two parts. Like sea, zeppelin, parts or something like train station. Interesting idea. Maybe a bridge or something could be cool as well. I've already answered that earlier. Mod support. I'm not quite sure how we could do that. I don't have any experience with mods. How do you even add mod support to a game? Or do you mean Steamworks? I'm not sure if we'll do that, honestly. What's your Twitter, Jonas? Just click on my YouTube channel and then in the top right corner you'll see my Twitter handle. But also on Twitter I have exactly the same name as my YouTube channel. An airport. Oh yeah, that would be cool. Airport for the balloons. Or what would be cool as well is a harbor, I guess, for ships. A hyperloop. Yeah, train station could be cool, but what is a train station without having a train? Then we would have to add a rail system and trains, and that sounds complicated. Adding a building that consists of 2 parts sounds really interesting. Zeppelin, maybe. Like, what if we do... What if the 2 parts are separate buildings, so you can place them separately, but they have a very, very big negative score that you can only circumvent by putting the other building within range. So you're basically forced to place them very close to each other, while you can still place them freely. But then the question is, what stops you from putting them right next to each other? And even if we do that, then what would the building be? Maybe another way to approach this is, what are currently dominant strategies in the game, and what can we do to maybe encourage a bigger variety of strategies? For example, one thing I see quite often on screenshots is that people have one really big city area and then one really big area with all of their fields right next to that, and usually all of their parks are sprinkled in with all of the fields. So I wonder if we can find a building that encourages players to maybe build the parks in the city a bit more. Like a building that gets points from city centers and parks or something like that. But if we approach it from this angle, then finding a building that fits those requirements will be even harder, I guess. A giant tree. A giant magical tree. I mean, if we do something like that, that's cool, because then we can make up some interactions like, yeah, the giant tree wants to be next to the temple or something like that. That's not a bad idea. That gives us a lot of creative freedom, I feel like. The harbor could be cool, but then you would need boats too. Yeah, I've talked with Friedemann about boats in the morning. I think our conclusion was that boats would look a little weird probably if they aren't moving, because in Islanders all of the buildings are static, and if the boats are static as well and just randomly placed boats in the water that are not moving at all, that we were not very confident that that would work out. I guess we could still do a harbor and just have a couple of boats tied to the harbor directly in the mesh, but then I'm not sure if the harbor adds anything interesting to the gameplay at the moment, because the harbor probably wants to be close to houses and to maybe to the market and to the warehouse. I imagine. I'm not sure if that would already be interesting. What about a pharmacy? Everyone needs one. Same as with the water tower, I think we already have buildings that benefit from all of the houses. Nighttime? Nighttime, yeah, I mean, we already have some darker color schemes that look like night a little bit. But having true night with some lights on the houses would definitely be cool as well. A tree with a platform on top, maybe. A rainbow bridge to Valhalla. Fishing harbor. Are you part of Grizzly Games full time now or just for Islanders? I'm part of Grizzly Games. Full time is the question because the other two guys from our team, Paul and Friedemann, still have their own projects as well. Friedemann will make a game by himself after this game, and Paul will finish his studies. I will finish Will You Snail, and perhaps after that we'll make another game together. So it depends on how you define full-time. Okay, maybe we should just get started and add some stuff. It will be a long process anyway. I feel like I want to have about the size of the fountain. That seems like a reasonable size for a building. We want it to be an important building. And then we can turn that into a tree or whatever. I think even though that will be even more challenging to find a fitting building later on, I'll just go with the approach of let's try to add something that's interesting in terms of gameplay, and then let's try to contextualize it later. Might end up biting me into the back. Is that even something you can say? But sounds like a weird term to say. What about a giant statue? Yeah, something like that. Either a giant tree or a giant statue. I think something like that is cool because it gives us a lot of freedom for the interactions. If we do something like harbor, then there are certain things players will definitely expect, like a bonus from warehouse or a market. And you would probably expect boats as well. Good, let's rec that in here. Original prefab, see what we want to create, and then we'll call that monument. And that monument will be a tree or whatever. Oh, nice. Can still get a new ID. And then I'll just delete all interactions. And maybe I'll just keep the dwell as a ground plane. I'll just have to remove the particles. What is this? Ah, that's the visuals, okay. Now let's add some visual improvements to this. Improvements in quotation marks, of course. Freeman is always very happy about how I mess up the look of this game. Because he's the one who has to fix it. Let's put those on the structure layer as well. Okay, so, I mean, the way that looks now, it looks like a water tower. Wanted to make it look like a tree, but it looks more like a water tower. The problem is I don't even know what this is supposed to be yet. Those two will not have a collider. Not everything needs to have a collider. Excuse me. And then the building will get the building material. Doesn't it look beautiful? Yes, it does not look beautiful, I know. I know. And now we have to go through that entire process again, add a name for that, add a building pack, add that building into the building pack, and then we can finally test it in game. Monument. Okay, so let's add the translation for that. Building names slash monument. Great key. I think it's exactly the same in German and English. Loop. Now we can select the correct name. If you focus a little bit, this actually does not take forever. Monument. And for the image, I'll take blank, otherwise it's a little confusing as well. I'd rather have a blank white icon for this. And then this will start out with minus 50 points or something like that. And what will it get points for? I think it will get points for the temple. Quite a bunch of points. Will lose points for itself. And what are, so basically what I'm thinking about is what are things that are usually not next to each other, and then let's encourage players to put these things next to each other. Or if we encourage the player to put the resort somewhere close to the temple. Like what weird building is this? It wants to be close to the resort oasis and close to the temple. I mean, it would be interesting from a gameplay perspective, like it doesn't make any sense. Maybe it wants to be next to the temple and next to parks. Parks are not very unusual to see next to temples anyway. Let's say it gets 4 points from parks, 5 points from parks. Let's keep the resort oasis in there, whatever. But it does not want to be next to masons. Which is something you usually see next to temples. And what if we make like one building that doesn't even want to be next to the statue? Like that. That building really doesn't make any sense. Can you even cover the negative cost of this with a temple and a resort oasis? Barely. Okay, let's give a lot more points for parks, whatever, who cares? But then I'm afraid if I give too many points for parks, he'll just place it next to the resort oasis. I don't really want this to be... Okay, let's just remove the freaking resort oasis. It doesn't make any sense anyway. We want to be next to temple and next to park. And I'll give it a pretty big range. I'm very curious to see how that plays. Oof. What if we also make this out of wood? Maybe it even wants to be next to lumberjacks or something. I'm really just trying to come up with interesting interactions. Just joined what he's creating now. Like, this is supposed to be... I have no idea. There's no answer to that question. There's a monument or something that's supposed to be placed as a late game building somewhere close to the temple. And the main purpose of this is to give high level players some more things to optimize. Give the game even more strategic depth in the late game. The tricky part is finding something that feels like it makes sense from a narrative standpoint, but at the same time makes sense from a gameplay perspective and adds something interesting to the game. Bringing those two things together is quite a challenge. If it's a tree, it shouldn't like lumberjacks. Yeah, because the drunk lumberjacks always come to the tree and start cutting it down because they don't realize it's the holy tree. Okay. Having that made out of wood is certainly interesting. Wants to be close to the temple, to the park. Let's just see an entire list of buildings. Does it want to be close? That's the question. Does it want to be close to lumberjacks? Does it want to be very far away from lumberjacks? Like for a late game building, this could definitely have a couple more interactions. Okay, I have an idea. How about this wants to be close to parks, but it does not want to be close to fields. I think that would definitely add something interesting. Okay, I mean, in terms of interactions, this looks quite interesting now. And we didn't even need all that many of them. So let's test that out in game and let's see how it plays. And as we just took a weird monument thingy for this anyway, we should probably get away with explaining that as well. It's a nature statue temple thingy, and it wants to be close to beautiful parks, but then farming land doesn't really count. Or something, you know. The will of the gods. Need to create a new building pack. I'll duplicate the temple one and call it BB Monument. And that one will unlock the monument. Who would have thought? Awesome. And the requirement for unlocking the monument will be unlocking the temple. Only once you've unlocked the temple will you be able to unlock the monument. So awesome. That should add another late game building to the mix. Oh, I just realized the monument will be quite good on Winter Island because there are no fields. Okay, now we just need to put it into the build order brain. BB pack, monument. Okay, now we have 3 or theoretically 4 new buildings in game because the Z-Wheat obviously has 2 buildings. The wheat field itself and the harvester. Then we have the balloon, and now we have the monument. All of these buildings still need to be balanced. All of these buildings still need to be approved by my teammates and by myself. I'll just have to do some testing. This game is great already, and you're making it even better. That's the spirit, yeah. Thank you. Like, the point is creating something like new buildings really just takes a day or two, so there's not really any good reason not to do it, except for the fact that, as I've mentioned earlier, I think this game probably stops benefiting from new buildings at some point. At some point it's just enough, because then it will start getting too complex. I guess if we add like 5, 6, 7 more buildings, something like that, then the game will be very saturated in terms of buildings. And after that, I'm not sure if the game would even become any better by adding any new buildings. But as a matter of fact, these buildings, now that we've got all of these systems up and running, are relatively easy to create, so that's why we're creating a couple more. Same applies for the islands. There's a new island type as well here that's not in the game yet so far. And these island presets, island generator presets, aren't all that hard to create, so we thought it'd be worth investing a couple of days into that, creating a bit of new content for the game. Oh, I just realized I didn't even get the seaweed. But yeah, that's cool. There are different kinds of openers now. Sometimes you do get the seaweed, sometimes you don't. Who cares? This island feels a little small. We'll have to make that a little bigger. I mean, the starting islands are a little smaller in general, of course. Oh, well, this is a little too small even for a starting island. What do you think about adding roads? They get points for the amount of city centers they connect with, and you can make trade building, which gets points for the connection with a road. Honestly, I'm not sure if that would fit in very well. Maybe it would have worked if we added that system earlier, but now it feels like a pretty big change to add a road system to this. Also, adding a road system would be a high effort task for sure. Because you cannot just take a mesh and then just or road pieces and then just put them next to each other. That would have to be a more elaborate system, I guess. And we are obviously interested in improving the game further. But where possible, we're taking the low effort approach. Which is just an economical thing to do. It's not even something that harms the game, it just means the game gets better faster if you're focusing on the things that are easier to do. So doing it like that is profitable for the community as well. They get updates quicker. Can I have the seaweed? No, apparently I cannot. Let's start again. You should make an airport that has to be far away from the huts. And how would that building be different from the resort oasis? Because the resort oasis also has to be far away from the huts. in general, I'm very open for suggestions, or at least I hope I am. I just think that buildings should have a unique gameplay purpose, or should be as different as possible. If we have two buildings that just look different but are very, very similar in the way they work, then I'm not sure we need that building. Hope that makes sense. Yeah, but I guess if we think about it a little bit, then having an airport, maybe the airport needs to be close to the market, but not close to the huts, so I guess there are some interesting things we could do with that. Good point. Shouldn't write that idea off too quickly. Do. Still listening to the same music. Still listening to the same music. Interesting, it's just a handful of tracks. But, I mean, on my PC they are just very, very silent. I'm not exactly sure how the mix is on the stream. Why not make it possible to destroy old buildings when you build a new one? And minimize the points of the old building from the new one. What do you mean? The reason why you can't delete buildings is because then it would be very easy to abuse the system. You could just place a really high value shaman up here, then delete it and place another one up there and get the points again. I'm not quite sure if I got you correctly already, Naru. Maybe you meant something else. I mean, if I delete a building, I lose those points again. I mean, I guess that would be an option to do it like that. Only thing that speaks against it is also that it's not really necessary, and we try to make a very minimalist game. So if something doesn't have a very clear gameplay advantage, then we'll probably not do it. The minus you get from other seaweed fields should probably be a little bigger. Or should it? I mean, okay, we get a range of 2 farms here. 2 collectors and the statue. So no wonder we got a lot of points. Sometimes it's quite easy to draw conclusions over balancing a little too quickly. Ideally, you should really play for at very least an hour or something like that to figure out if the balancing's working. That's probably not even enough. Pew, 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 pew. Doesn't look nice, does it look nice? Also, it just came to my mind, this island is probably way too small to test the late game building we just made. I just want to make one really cool, nice final test run of this on a bigger island. To see all of our new buildings in action. I guess this is a good map to do this. I have plenty of space here. Oh. Cannot place that on the pond for some reason. Interesting. I'll put that. Let's put it here, so we can surround it a little better with seaweed. Can really pay off to place buildings closer together sometimes, even if they get a minus from that. Because now we can get a lot of... oh, dang it, we cannot get a lot of points from those. Because the other brickyard is too close. And also on the desert islands, the numbers are very hard to see, and that's also something we're obviously aware of. And we'll probably fix in one of the next patches. If I'm lucky, the seaweed collector from this island over here will be in range. Okay, here's the gold, so here we'll build rich peopleville. I guess here would be a good place for the temple, but I already kinda messed that up. Guess I'll build an air temple later on. Maybe I should also plan ahead for the resort oasis and for the new building we made that requires parks but no farms. I mean, that's we want to capitalize on that. We definitely need to plan ahead a little bit. Unfortunately, my brain already feels like a smoothie. I'll try my best to get the most points out of this. Did I see 13? Did I see 13? Sometimes it's a little bit of pixel hunting, but surprisingly a lot of people seem to enjoy that. Others don't. That's the way it is. Nice, second city center. That means we can start Poor Peopleville over here. I should probably place this first. Oh, dang it, that's out of range. Let's see. Not a lot of planning went into this. I'm also a little bit impatient, as you can tell, but no problem, we have the cheat button, which is my magical tool for beating everybody at this game. No, the other sawmill is still in range. That sucks. But there's nothing we can do about that. I would really love to play in a city builder game with the look and feel of Islanders. Do you mean a real city builder? Not a puzzle casual city builder? This is what you mean, I guess. Because obviously Islanders is still a city builder, just not a very conventional one. Yeah, shipyard and ships, Raza is a cool idea as well. We've considered that as well. problem is, if we had ships, they would probably look weird if they weren't moving. And making moving ships sounds complicated. That's why we decided to settle for other buildings first. That building looks like a middle finger, damn it. Ah, you're right. You're right. It looks really, really bad. Looks like a middle finger laser gun that's about to shoot aliens coming from space. And those seaweed fields look terrible as well. Guess this will go here. Oh, 2 more fissures, okay. Okay. Really, that's still worth it, even though we get minus 17. 18 here. Unfortunately, this island is not quite in range. I guess I'll take the 18. And then we can even use those to get more points from our fishers, which is nice as well. Okay, fine, I'll take it. Rich Peopleville starting to grow. Damn it, this is surprisingly tight, considering I'm the developer. What the hell am I doing? Why am I placing a hut there? A terrible place. But it was 14 points, so I just clicked. You love islanders anyway, that's... glad to hear that. Ah, you mean when you put a building on top of a rock or a tree, you'll lose some points for that? Yeah, that would be a way to make it harder. True. However, that would be one additional thing to communicate to new players, and I'm wondering how you would make that very intuitive. See? The moment the trees just disappear, I guess then maybe a minus value just appears wherever the trees were before. People would probably figure out what's causing that value to go down. But then again, destroying trees already has disadvantages because they're needed for lumberjacks and resorts and parks. So I don't feel like there's a particular need to make the... or to discourage players more from... Sorry, I can't talk anymore. I just really want to test these stupid buildings. Bam, bam, bam. How many times have I already tried placing it up here? A million times. It never works, so let's just place it down. Oh. It's kind of a cute position. Even though it's not really worth it. Uh-oh, running out of points. Let's cheat a little bit. I wanna get to those late game buildings. Damn, am I really that bad at the game? I don't think I made the balancing any harder. If anything, I made the balancing easier. with the new buildings I added. 18-point parks, very nice. Something like cargo ships which stay in place. Something true. They're just very close to the harbor. Ships would certainly be cool. Visually speaking, Freeman meant that we should probably be careful a little bit about placing too much stuff on water, because these islands here can be get pretty cluttered with buildings, and having the water area empty is a sort of a nice counterbalance to that. So I guess there's still quite a bit of space left. Just need to be a little careful that we don't add too much stuff on water. I'm really not planning for any late game buildings, but let's just see what happens if you play this casually. If we'll be able to get any value out of the late game buildings. And if we can do that just by playing casually or not planning ahead, then I'm sure the Islanders pros will be able to pull off some crazy plays with this. Dum 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 dum. I'm kind of surprised by how long you have to play in order to get all of the buildings. Let's add another middle finger here. Ba 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 ba. Gotta go. Rubencraft, thanks for stopping by. Hope you have a nice evening. Or whatever time it is in your time zone. Here it is 1925. Market. I don't have a warehouse yet though. Should have taken the warehouse first. Okay, so sometimes these seaweed fields still feel a little overpowered and too easy to place. Will still require a bit of balancing that I didn't expect all of the balancing to work out perfectly. I'm just happy we found something that will probably work in concept or in theory. Because at the very least this system does not encourage you to clump these seaweed fields together very tightly. I think that was something that looked a little dumb earlier when all of those are very close together. Now it should be possible to make that work visually. But we'll see. We'll see. Okay, so maybe we can try to place the balloon here later on. We already have a tower and a circus. If we can get another tower in that area, that would be nice. And now here we go with the resort oasis. Okay, so here's where we... Oh no, we already have a warehouse up here. I didn't even see that. A really dumb placement for a warehouse. Oh no, actually works. Nice. Okay, seems like here's a decent place for the resort. Why does it not fit there? probably because the sand is too steep. That is not fair. That should fit there. And then we might have to extend that downwards a bit, but I want to place that there. Let me place it there. Come on. Is that music game audio? It's a mixture of the Islander soundtrack and the Will You Snail soundtrack. What you're hearing right now is Will You Snail soundtrack, which is the other game I'm working on. See, now we can place it. Crazy. It's got a couple of points. Tavern. Where did I build the brewery? Why did I build the brewery next to Rich People Town? No, no, no. That was a mistake. Oh, nice. Do you see this? The juicy tower on the high ground. I'm really happy this works now. Oh god, I thought I was late. No, you barely made it. Seems like we're doing a longer stream today, because I wanna test out the new buildings. I still haven't gotten the balloon, I still haven't gotten the other new building we made, the monument. Hope we'll get those soon. Oh, maybe we can... oh, no, damn. Where will we put the temple? Where will we put the temple? I don't have a good temple spot. Maybe we can put the temple here. Maybe. No, not even in the positives yet. Come on. Interesting, that sand seems to be very steep here. Which means you cannot build very close to the edge. It's a little frustrating. Should probably fix that. Nice place for a mill. Yes, the balloon, finally. Give me the balloon. Nice. Here we get 30 points. Wait a little longer, then we'll probably get more from that. If we manage to get another power tower in that area, that would be nice. Oh, that's a sweet warehouse. Temple still only 5 points. What the hell? Maybe we'll just wait for the air temple. I imagine an air temple over here would probably pay a lot more. And now we get the monument, which is invisible. Does it have the correct tooltips? Yeah, it gets points from temples and parks. Okay, let's focus on the obvious question. Why is it invisible? What the hell? Ah. Probably need, because we need to put that in here. Yeah, that's it. Hey, Kaivinci, welcome. Do you use binary formatter for saving? No. Or do I? Does serialization use the binary formatter? I'm not sure. Give me those points. Okay, guess you're still stuffing those fields a little bit. Maybe the balloon should get another 15 points from the market. I feel like the market is a fun building as well, right? The balloon could benefit from. Also, I want those points. But I also think the interaction makes sense. Does it? Do you think it makes sense? I think it makes sense. Why can I not find that building in there? Interesting. Maybe buildings that value all of the buildings on the islands as a whole are interesting. I don't think so, because then the placement of the building doesn't really matter, right? And figuring out where to place stuff is kind of what makes placing a building interesting. If it doesn't matter where you place a building, then isn't it kind of a boring building? This way, as an advanced player, you have to think ahead about what building you later want to profit of. Ah, so you mean in the building decisions where you have to decide which building you want to pick. But that would feel like I'm restricting the player a little too much. That would feel like I'm forcing them to pick one thing over the other. What I'd like to do is to encourage people to pick whatever's best for the situation. I don't want it to be obvious what's best for the situation, otherwise it's not an interesting decision anymore. If that makes any sense. I feel like I'm turning down all of your ideas. I'm very sorry. That is absolutely not my intent. I hope you can see where I'm coming from. Dang it, I can't get those extra points. Okay, guess I'll just place it somewhere here. Yeah, that building still looks awkward. No worries, we'll hopefully improve that. And then surprisingly, here was a pretty good place for the monument. But that would require me to place the temple somewhere around here. Oops, I just got some new points. Surprise. I want a better temple. Wall temple, here we go. The strategy is so overpowered. Oh, what? Only 5 points. Dang it. Dang it. The temple's a lot harder to place than I thought. Oh, got so little here. Interesting. Probably not enough stuff down here. The temple has a base value of -74, so you have to work a little bit to get it into the positives, but usually once you've got it in the positives, it starts paying quite a lot. So temple is definitely worth it if you place it correctly. Problem is just if you don't really plan for it like I did, then you're a little screwed. Cool, now we have all of the buildings. Oh, by the way, how many of those monuments do you get? Monument, how many do we have? 5, no. Let's do 2 per island. That's enough. Or should we do 3? Nah. Nah. This should be a rare building, I feel like. Overpowered. Have you ever considered a lighthouse? Maybe you could get points for every fishing hut nearby, but lose points for nearby seaweed farms. I have considered lighthouse. I think lighthouse would fit in very well visually, probably. If we ever add boats, I'll probably add a lighthouse as well. Sometimes I'm kind of lacking the context here of certain comments, unfortunately. Overpowered, Martin. Okay, I'm not sure what exactly you're referring to. Ever considered implementing developer mode cheats for faster development? Yes, we do have that. We do have cheats. I can fill my entire inventory with buildings if I want to. Only thing is that the point of this wasn't really to cheat to the end. I just did that because I had to. Point of that was to test the balancing, and you can't really test the balancing if you're cheating, right? That doesn't really make a lot of sense. Now it's too late. Now I cheated. But from what I can tell so far, the buildings seem to work. Just need a little bit of fine-tuning and balancing, and obviously better visuals. And I'll see what the rest of the team thinks about them, I guess. So, if you want, we can finish this off with a little bit of Q&A. I haven't been reading chat all that much, honestly. So, if I have missed your question or anything, just feel free to post it again, and I'll be answering questions for a couple more minutes and try to read everything now. Do you save to persistent data path or just data path? You're asking me questions, man. I don't even know what that means. You wanna see the save files? I mean, I can show you the save files. Oh, app data. So seems like there's some binary data in there. That's the save file. I can also show you how it's done in Unity, I guess, if you're really that interested in it. Ah, dang it! I'm such an idiot, you can't see anything. I'm so smart. That happens all the time. Here, that's save file. How the save file looks. Not super duper interesting. That's surprisingly short, actually. Interesting. Oh, was that the stats? Where's the save file? Ah, that's the save file. Okay, that's a little longer. That makes more sense. And that just saves the position of all of the buildings in what seems to be binary data. Or we're really just using the serializer. Let me have a look at the save game script. Okay, let's try not to miss any questions in chat here. Still wondered if an observatory would be a good building. Ah, an observatory. Yeah, I like that idea. Could fit in quite nicely, visually speaking. Would just have to think about a couple of interactions with other buildings, like what would the observatory interact with? Would it like to be close to mansions? Or what would it like to be close to? If it just wants to be close to mansions, then it will probably be a little too similar to the jewelry. So that's often what I'm thinking about. What will this building be similar to? And do we really need another one of those? Observatory. I'll keep that in mind. That sounds cool. That sounds cool. Okay, see, that's basically the save file script thingy, which has just a bunch of lists and variables. And then the save file manager. Where's that? Save load manager. We just serialize and deserialize these objects. Here. Binary formatter, yeah, so we're using binary formatter. Binary formatter confirmed. Very basic, nothing special. I think this is the default way to save stuff in Unity. Yeah, we're saving in app data. If you have the application on your desktop, you usually don't want the save file on your desktop. I think it makes more sense to have the save file in app data, especially because that's just the intended way to put or the intended place to put files like that. Height aspect, the higher it is. And maybe towers. Yeah, height aspect is something we thought about as well, and for the sake of simplicity we wanted to give buildings any bonus for being placed further up. One of the issues is also that it prevents different terrain types. If you have a very flat island, then that building would be at quite a strong disadvantage. And then on top of that, it would just be a little confusing to communicate what the building is getting points for. If you place it further up, then where are those points coming from? Hard to communicate. So for the sake of simplicity, we decided not to put any height advantages in the game. You're using the same thing, Breda? Yeah, I think that's the way to do save files. What post-processing effects are you using? Let's have a look. Just have to find the camera rig, main camera. Camera doesn't even have the camera. Where's the camera? Here's the camera. Dang it, I have no idea where that post-processing prefab is. Has to be somewhere though. Would make sense to have it in prefabs, buildings, environments, FX, island managers. Nah, if it's not here, then I have no idea where it is, sorry. Seems like we didn't have a very... didn't keep our order properly here. But I can tell you, it's basically we increased the contrast a bit. Then of course ambient screen space, ambient occlusion, which you can also turn off in the settings. Slide vignette, and that's basically it. You use the XML serializer for saving and streaming. Is there any advantage to using the XML serializer compared to using any other standard Unity binary formatter deserialized thingy? Find post-processing file. I mean, if I remembered how we named that post-processing file, or if I knew which ending that... I think I found it, lol. Yeah, you can have a look. So it's a vignette, it's color grading. A bit of a curve here for increasing contrast. Saturation increased slightly. And ambient occlusion. That's it. Not super duper crazy. Although I think in game there's a way to turn post-processing off, so if you wanna see how the game looks without post-processing, that should be relatively doable. Is it okay to publish a story-based action game with visually appealing girls on stream? On Steam, so sorry, I didn't read that properly. Yeah, I think it is. I'm not sure. I'm sure there are certain boundaries that may not be crossed. And obviously you'll have to set a proper age restriction on the game. Right, I wanted to turn off post-processing. Let's see. Oh no, you cannot turn off all of the post-processing. It seems like. Interesting. Cool. XML is easier to edit, debug. Yeah, I guess that's true. Isn't it a bit slower though? Is there any chance of adding some harder achievements, modes or missions for a greater challenge? I mean, getting to the top of the high score should already be quite a challenge, but I can definitely see where you're coming from, because to get to the top of the high score just takes half an eternity, because you have to keep playing for that long. And obviously, maybe you want a challenge without playing for 30 hours straight. I can understand that. But we'll have to see if we can find a good solution for that. I'd really love to have something like daily challenges, or I really can't promise anything there. Did you read my message? No, apparently not. Let me scroll up. tried to catch everything. What about pig farm? Will be kind of the same as fields, but houses, just like a pig farm because of the smell. I hate to be that guy. That still sounds a little similar to the farm. Not sure it's different enough. Also, those poor pigs. Pig farm kinda feels like they will all be slaughtered. Why do we have a ruler up here? Usually I just try to come up with a funny new look in every stream, as you can clearly tell. In today's stream I wasn't very creative. This is all I could come up with. See you later. Yeah. I'm gonna call it a day as well now. That has been a very long stream. I'm exhausted. Time to call it the day. How can I create a translate? I recommend you check out the i2 extension for Unity, in case you're using Unity. That seems to be the go-to extension for adding translations to your game. And then obviously you'll have to find people to translate your game or use Google Translate. You can turn post-processing off on the camera. Yeah. Too lazy. I'll be making the monsters now. Cool, have fun. Okay, let's just end the stream before there are any more questions coming in. That sounds like a good idea. So I want to thank you all for watching. Hope you had an enjoyable time on stream here. And I'll probably see you tomorrow with some Will You Snail development. Don't forget to check out both Islanders as well as Will You Snail in the comments below. Yeah, we'll keep making some cool stuff tomorrow. So see ya. Have a nice evening. Bye bye.